How do you find like Rishabh's attitude towards studying physics? Did you feel after he joined MOS there was a difference?
Of course, because the reason why I was looking for something for him is because he was relatively weak in physics compared to his other subjects, and he always, due to his poor understanding of the subject, he was always not so inclined or interested in physics.
Okay.
And I think after he joined you at MOS, I could definitely see the transition where he began to take interest in the subject.
All right.
He would always be passionately looking forward to his lessons,
All right.
and also he would always speak very high of how he understood uh, his concepts after he joined MOS.
Okay.
So, which and eventually it showed in his results as well. It was not just initially he would probably just avoid doing much of physics, but I could see that once he joined you, he took keen interest
Okay.
in doing the subject well.
Okay. Okay. That's really great to hear.
You can't use the techniques that worked for you as a parent for your child because your child is in a different era altogether. Hi, my name is Rajiv Mishra. I'm the founder of Ministry of Science. We've been doing it since 2005. For at least about 16 years, I've been doing this already. I would say that I've at least helped about 1,243 students and counting. I actually started since environmental engineering days in NTU, and that was in about around 2005. There were a few jobs that were offered to me, like tutoring jobs, and I realized that I had a very good flair for it. I really enjoy the point where you actually get a student from not understanding the concept to understanding. So after finishing up my degree in NTU, I actually went on to MOE and I did teaching in First Toa Payoh Secondary School, but I didn't want to be constrained by a school and I didn't want to be constrained by certain admin systems, and I wanted to be able to help as many students as possible. I understand when you have a teacher who is boring and a total snooze fest, students lose interest and they don't produce results. So there was a Sec 3 teacher which was super boring. It was like a total snooze fest. If you have insomnia, he's the right guy to go to because he could make you sleep like a baby. And he used to make difficult concepts, like simple concepts difficult, and I really couldn't understand. But when Michael Lim came into the picture in Sec 4, he changed the whole landscape. Like he made it a lot more easier to understand. He actually simplified the concepts, and that is what inspired me to teach in the same exact style. And that helps a lot of the students because I could teach in a very complex way or a simpler way, and I find students react better to the simpler way. And that is why I founded Ministry of Science. I had this student called Lakshan, and he joined us, I remember, in 2020 June. And I remember he was with another tuition center. I won't name the tuition center, but he wasn't doing very well. And his mom was very worried that if, let's say, with this tuition center, it's not going to produce.
Hello, everybody. So what we're going to do today is this. We will be running through on the chemistry WA2 part 1. So we'll be running through on separation techniques, atomic structure, and chemical bonding. So keep in mind that actually for today's Facebook Live, I'll be actually running through on all these topics. There will be a Kahoot quiz at the end of it where you can win a $10 popular voucher. So again, if you all have any questions on this few topics, just go ahead, pop in the comments. I'd love to answer those questions. All right, so let's just get straight right into it. And also, if you know anybody who can actually benefit from this Facebook Live, share it on your page so that others also can get the info. Yeah. So let's just go straight into this now. Now, for here, so separation techniques. The idea of separation techniques, take note, is that you have all the different methods. That means you have your fractional distillation, simple distillation. So generally, there are two areas that I would say, okay, for salts, right? Just take note this general one, salt. What will happen is the question you want to ask yourself is it soluble or insoluble? If it is soluble, then what you want to ask your question next Is it heat stable? Yeah, so is it heat stable? So what I will do is, let me just erase this off. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just write the point being, is it heat stable? And if it is heat stable, then what you do is next you ask yourself, yes, then you say evaporation to dryness. Okay, so just take note that if let's say it's heat stable, just straight away go into evaporation to dryness. It's not very difficult. But if it is what I call not heat stable, then I'll carry out crystallization. All right, crystallization. Now, if it's insoluble, what do you all think it might be? So there are four of you who's watching this. Go ahead and put it in the comments. What do you think you would do if, let's say, you realize that your salt that you're looking at is not soluble? So what do you think it will be? Do you think it will be evaporation to dryness, crystallization, or whatever you think it is? So I will let you all write your answers in the comment, and then I will tell you guys. Yeah. Let's go into this. Two students each carried out chromatography to see what dyes are present in the brown food coloring from a candy. Their chromatograms are as follows. What is a possible reason to account for the difference in the chromatograms despite them using the same brown food coloring? So in this case, right, what will happen is, if you look at it, well, to account for the difference, so you have same brown food coloring. So I'm guessing this is going to be the brown. So here is more, it's further up. So it just means that it's more soluble. So in this case, uses a different solvent from this, started later, use the lesser volume. In this case, if let's say you have different like components, right, it most probably is the point being is that your solvent could be different. That's the reason why in this solvent, this one wasn't so soluble, but in this solvent, this was more soluble. So just take note on the differences, right? Because if your solubility is different, the most likely reason is that the solvent was different. Anyway, for those who wanted the answer is filtration. Take note, filtration. Okay, so we talked about this. Now, the diagram below shows a method of gas collection, which of the following gases can be collected. Whenever you're looking at this type of question, you have to ask yourself, is it solvent, water, or not? Actually, whenever you collect it in water like this, most probably it's insoluble in water. So you're looking for anything that is not very soluble. Ammonia, chlorine, and sodium sulfur dioxide are considered very soluble. Hydrogen is actually partially soluble. So that's why the answer is C. Just take note of this part. Yeah. Then here, the property of two substances are shown in the table, which is the best method to separate these two at room temperature and pressure. So you see, one part is insoluble, the other part is soluble. So if you ask me, and if you look at it, room temperature is about 25 degrees Celsius, which is here, which means that they are both liquids. This part is important because if they are both liquids, one is solvent water, the other one is not, that means that they are considered immiscible liquids. Take note, the term we use is immiscible liquids. So if this is the case, immiscible liquids, then what I'll do is I'll use separating funnel. Just take note on that, yeah? So always remember that if let's say you have two liquids that don't dissolve in each other, we normally go for separating funnel. Now in this question, one hexene and one heptene are two members of alkene, and droplets of foam could be seen condensing on the sides. When the vapor condensed, the hot vapors were very slowly withdrawn and condensed by using a small dropper. So what's the purpose of the copper metal sponge? Actually, if you think about this, right, it's very similar to your fractional distillation. The reason why you have the copper metal sponge, it is to actually provide a large surface area for condensation to occur. So the liquid with the higher boiling point can condense on the copper and then flow downwards. Just keep that in mind. What process is demonstrated? Like what I mentioned, fractional distillation. This is a very clear setup of fractional distillation. Basically, what you want to do is that the liquid with a higher boiling point or lower boiling point can escape but the liquid with the higher boiling point will flow downwards. So just take note on that. In this, for the RF value, so a sample of herbal tea containing 2 water-soluble vitamins was analyzed. When the solvent front reached the position indicated, the following chromatogram was obtained. So calculate the RF value. B12 RF value is 0.34. So if you look at B12, right, it's 3.8. RF value, just remember, is always 3.8 over X. This is the whole thing, X. So if it's X, RF value is 0.34, 3.8 over X, X equal to 3.8 over 0.34. And the answer would have been 11.176. Take note, this is actually the value from here all the way to here. Yeah. So if I want to find the RF value of B6, what I'll do is I'll take 2.2 over 11.176. 2.2 divided by the answer, and you should get 0.196. Round off 0.20. So answer is A. Yeah, so this one is a little bit different from your usual. So just take note on that. Now, the idea of atomic structure. Atomic structure, just keep in mind. Basically, for atomic structure, if you really think about it, it's all about the atom. The atom, you have nucleus and you have your electron shells. Yeah, electron shells. In your nucleus, you have protons, neutrons. For electron shells, you have your inner shell electrons and you have your valence shell. All right. Now, for protons, right, just take note that the idea here is that you will always make sure that you have your protons. So that part is important. So your protons, right, the relative charge, relative mass is +1, 0. Relative mass, just take note, is 1 and 1. Very important. For electrons, right, just take note that relative charge is -1 and it's negligible mass. So it's 1 over 1840. So important to note. Two particles, X and Y, have the composition shown. Which statement is correct about X and Y? So if you look at X and Y, if you look at X itself, it's 2 minus because you've got 2 more electrons than protons. For Y, you have 1 more electron than proton. So basically both will be non-metals, and like what I just did, you realize they are anions. Simple as that. Now, what are isotopes? Isotopes are basically different atoms of the same element which have the same number of protons and electrons but different number of neutrons. So just take note on the differences. It's important to identify what they are. Yeah. This statement about an atom is correct. In an atom, always remember that the number of protons and the number of electrons are actually the same. Number of protons and number of electrons are actually the same. So in this case, here they say each element has the same number of protons and neutrons. Not possible. This is not possible. Nuclear number can be equal. Actually, it can be. Example, hydrogen. Hydrogen is 1, 1. So that's why your nuclear number is equal to your proton number. So that's possible. Nuclear number should never be lesser than the number of electrons. So that's not possible. So answer is C. Which option correctly shows the number of particles? 34, 16, 2 minus. So 16 is the number of protons. If you take 34 minus 16, and you'll get 18. And your electrons, just take note, is another 2. So 16 plus 2 is 18. So answer is B. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Not very difficult, yeah? Which particle is an isotope of P? If you look at P, right, if you say it's an isotope, that means you must have the same number of protons. So if there's no charge, that means the proton number is 8. We're looking for anything that is going to, okay, if you look at R properly, R2 minus, right, you have 10 electrons. That means it actually has 8 protons. So highly likely the answer is B. Yeah, the answer is B. Just take note. Table shows the data. What is correct? So if you look at number of protons for Xe, it's 54. Nucleon number is always the number of protons plus number of neutrons. Simple as that. So I take 131 minus 54, you get 77. T is 77. So T is 77. For your number of protons, so your neutron number is here. Nucleon number is here. So I take 79 minus 45 is 34. U is 34. And answer will be D. If you look at this part, proton is 4. If you say 2 plus, that means there's 2 more protons than electrons. So 2 more protons than electrons, that means it will be 2 plus. Thanks, Mark, for that like. So just take note, 77 minus 2, 4 minus 2 will give you 2. So your answer is D. Yeah. Now, for chemical bonding. So the idea of chemical bonding, very simply, okay, a very general structure, I would say very simply, is bonding has two types. There is ionic bonding and covalent bonding. So just take note, ionic bonding and covalent bonding. Now, for ionic bonding, right, what's important is that usually you have a metal and then you have a non-metal. But for covalent bonding, you have non-metal, non-metal. Okay. For covalent bonding, take note there are two types of structures: simple molecular and giant molecular. Simple molecular is like your what you call carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, methane, ammonia. Giant molecular will be generally there should only be three that you are familiar with: diamond, graphite, and silicon dioxide. So just take note on all these three. All right. Now for you guys, right, take note that we are soon actually going to be doing the Kahoot quiz. So if you got friends that want to win a $10 popular voucher or just want to test their knowledge, get them to join in. Yeah. The equation shows the reaction with oxide of metal M in water. What type of bonding are present in M2O and MOH? Now, if you look at M2O, generally this will be a metal oxide, I would say, because they already said metal oxide. And MOH, MO, they're both ionic. Ionic, yeah? So ionic. If you notice, oxygen and hydrogen is considered both non-metal. So it'll be ionic and covalent. So answer is C. Take note on this. Whenever you see this type of structure, right, calcium oxide, what you want to do is you want to do alternating. So you should always be alternating. That's what you're looking for. So answer is A. Answer is A, yeah. Three elements X, Y, and Z have consecutive increasing atomic numbers. Y is a noble gas. If Y is a noble gas, that means it's group A, which means this is 7, and this will be group 1. So what are the ions? Z should be plus. And this one X should be minus. So answer is A. Take note. This one was the chemical formula. So here you have got Y and chlorine. Chlorine has 7. Y, if you look at it, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means Y needs another 3 electrons. And if it needs another 3 electrons, it's 3 minus. Sodium is plus. So I'll write Na3Y. It's as simple as that. And that's how you actually solve this type of questions. So answer is C. Okay. What are likely formula of the ionic compound and covalent compound formed from the 4 different elements? Now you have to remember, you look at each one of them. So this 2.4, 2.6, 2.8.87, 2.8.8.1. P must remember the charge is 4 minus, Q is 2 minus. Basically, how many more electrons do I need to become stable? R is plus and S is plus. Sorry, R is minus, not plus. So what will happen is, if you look at the ionic compound, you should have a metal and a non-metal. If you have a metal, it should be S, definitely S. If you look at R minus, right? So highly likely there is SR. If you look at a covalent compound, you got R and Q, but if it's R and Q, it should be R2Q. So that's out. Now, if I look at the others, S plus Q2 minus, which means S2Q, this is possible. And P is 4 minus, Q is 2 minus. So you got PQ2. So answer is B. So it's as simple as that. All you just need to keep in mind is whenever you do this type of questions, right, it's not very, very difficult. All you need to just remember is simple fact. Ionic is between metal and non-metal. Covalent is between two non-metals. Yeah. This one for the last question. So it's graphene. Graphene is like an allotrope of carbon. Graphite is your hexagonal rings without the hydrogen atoms. But here you have hydrogen atoms. Now, previously, if you remember, your carbon, right? Because in the graphite structure, there's only three that is bonded. Only three that is bonded. But because of this hydrogen atom, this is also bonded now. And because it is all bonded, right, that means graphene cannot conduct electricity. So 4 is out. Anything with 4 is out. Usually for giant molecular structure, they should not be soluble in water. So just take note, they should not be soluble in water. They should have high melting point and giant molecular. So answer is B. B. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to actually go ahead and what do you call? We will go ahead and actually start on the Kahoot quiz itself. So let me just load it up so that you guys can possibly win a $10 Kahoot quiz. Kahoot popular voucher actually. So let me just start it up now. For those who you know anybody else who could actually loves playing Kahoot, or you think that they would enjoy it, do get them to join in. I will let this run for 5 minutes. So now it's about 9:36. At 9:41, we shall start. Okay, I think there's just nobody who wants to do the code quiz today, so not to worry. If you actually missed out on the code quiz and you want to join in again, just keep in mind that there will be a TikTok live on Thursdays at 9:15. You guys can join in. I'll be more than happy to hold it there too. Yeah, so just remember, if let's say there weren't that many people, so maybe couldn't start the code quiz, but no worries. what we'll do is on Thursday, this coming Thursday, we will start at 9:15 p.m. Kahoot quiz will most probably be at about 9:30. So do join us then. So you take care. And if you guys have any more questions or anything that you all want to clarify or you have issues, if you watch this on the repost, I'll just put hashtag repost, put your questions in the chat. I would love to answer it. So take care, guys, and